Chosen one. Someone is about to break their silence. Someone who's realizing that what they've uncovered could change your life if they're brave enough to speak. This person reviewing your file has noticed the pattern: reports without arrests, names without charges, lives disrupted without cause, a shadow network operating in the gray. And now they must choose: stay safe or speak and change everything. There's someone in your past who couldn't handle you, someone who felt something so intense for you that it terrified this person. So the push came. The test arrived. The expectation was clear: chase, beg, prove your devotion by accepting chaos. And you didn't. You had boundaries. You had self-respect. You chose yourself. That broke something inside this person. A disorder exists here. A pattern where connection gets rejected and then rage erupts when people actually leave. The desire to be wanted exists, but the terror of being seen dominates. Intimacy gets craved, but every relationship gets sabotaged. Love gets felt, but only control gets expressed. And when you refuse to play the game, when you walked away without falling apart, the acceptance couldn't come. The tolerance didn't exist. The capacity wasn't there to handle that you had the strength to choose peace over drama. So something unforgivable happened. This person knew someone with power, someone in law enforcement or military, or some official capacity. Maybe intimacy existed between them. Maybe just connection existed. Doesn't matter. What matters is your name got whispered. You got painted as a threat. You got fed to a predator. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you refused to be owned. This person is falling apart now. Physical symptoms manifest. Body pains emerge. Anxiety dominates. Depression settles. The karma is manifesting in flesh, because what got done to you is eating this person alive. Your forward movement is visible. Your survival is undeniable. Your thriving is obvious. And it's destroying this person because a trap exists now. A trap between you and the person you got betrayed to, and that person owns the betrayer now. Walking away isn't possible. Apologizing and making it right isn't available, because the moment the stepping out of line happens, the moment the cooperation stops, the shadow system turns, the fake reports can be filed, the blackballing can happen, the prison doors can open. The person who received that information about you operates differently. Wounded ego isn't the driver. Broken love isn't the fuel. Pure power addiction runs everything. An entire shadow network got built. The understanding exists that the most effective way to destroy people isn't through official channels. It's through the spaces between official channels. Reports get filed that never become charges. Records get created that bypass due process. Flags appear in interconnected systems without giving any rights to defend. Bureaucracy itself got weaponized. Protective infrastructure got turned into an instrument of control. The thinking existed that getting close to you would increase power, that you could be used, broken, controlled, maybe even seduced into compliance. But something strange happened instead. The closer the proximity got, the more illusions crumbled. Badges felt heavier. Authority felt hollow. Confidence started cracking. Because your frequency does something to false power. It strips everything away. Every time someone with corrupt intent gets close to you, pieces start getting lost. The lies people tell themselves stop working. The justifications fall apart. The carefully constructed false self begins to unravel. Traps got set for you. Love traps, lust traps, control traps. But the falling happened into their own traps instead. The addiction grew to trying to reach you. The chase became everything. The attempt to break someone who won't break became an obsession. And now confusion dominates, and unraveling accelerates, and the realization hits that proximity to you isn't making anything stronger. It's making everything weaker. The corrupt infrastructure is showing cracks, and the understanding isn't there why. But you understand. Because you're not what got assumed. You're not a victim. You're a frequency disruptor. You're a truth revealer. You're a false power destroyer. Just by existing in your authenticity. A third energy exists in this web. Someone who benefits from keeping you trapped. Could be family. Could be someone who claims to love you. Could be someone who feeds on your struggle, because as long as you're suffering, the confrontation with personal emptiness doesn't have to happen. An energy vampire exists here, and your low vibration has been the food source. The dependency exists on you being broken. The dependency exists on you being confused. The dependency exists on you questioning yourself. Because when you're powerful, when you're clear, when you're shining, starvation happens. And right now, starvation is happening. Because you've been rising, you've been reclaiming your power, you've been breaking free from invisible chains, and this gets felt. So the reaction is coming. The emergencies will be created. The drama will be manufactured. Every manipulation tactic known will get pulled to drag you back down. But here's the thing, you're not responsible for this hunger. You never were, and you're about to understand that on a level you've never understood it before. If these words stirred your consciousness, hype this video to help more chosen ones awaken to this. The person in that office staring at those files started noticing patterns, false reports in law enforcement systems connecting to healthcare databases, restrictions appearing in employment verification systems, flags showing up in housing and finance and social services, all without official legal process, all without federal oversight. A web exists, an ecosystem of corruption operating below the surface of legitimate governance, and it exists specifically to put people in limbo, to mark without charging, to restrict without giving the right to face accusers, to destroy without giving the dignity of due process, because if actual charges happened, rights would exist, legal representation, ability to subpoena records, ability to question witnesses, ability to demand proof. But in limbo, nothing exists. Guilt without conviction, imprisonment without walls, destruction without recourse. The viewing is happening of how this system spreads like a virus, how it connects through back channels, how it operates with its own rules, its own power structure, its own methods, and the viewing is happening of how it targets specific people, people who shine too bright, people who threaten egos, people who refuse to be controlled, people like you. You're not passive, you're not a victim waiting to be rescued, you are the weapon, you're the reason everything is about to break open, because your frequency has been doing something this entire time, something you might not have even realized. Every person with corrupt intent who got close to you started falling apart. Your betrayer is crumbling under karma. The corrupt official is unraveling. The energy vampire is starving. And the watcher, the awakening to purpose is happening. Because you exist, because you survived, because you held your light even when the whole world turned dark around you. You're a mirror, a truth revealer, a frequency that strips away illusions and reveals what's real underneath. That's why you got targeted. Not because you're weak, but because you're powerful in a way that threatens systems built on lies, and every trap set for you, you turned it into a trap for them instead. Every scheme to break you made them weaker. Every attempt to control you cost them pieces of themselves. Not because you fought back, not because you played games, but because you simply existed in your truth while operation in lies happened around you. That's your power. That's what creates terror. That's why limbo was necessary. Because if you're free, if you're fully expressed, if you're operating at your full frequency, the entire corrupt system crumbles just from your presence. Now back to the watcher. This person sitting in that office right now represents what Spirit calls the second wave. See, you were first wave. You walked into the wilderness without a map. You took the bullets. You survived the gaslighting. You endured the blacklisting. You were the outcast, the misfit, the one who never fit because you were meant for something bigger, but you weren't meant to walk alone forever. The divine doesn't send you into battle without eventually sending reinforcements, and the second wave is different. These people had privilege, fitting in happened, ladders got climbed, respect got earned in the three-dimensional world, the learning of how systems work from the inside happened, and now the ask is coming to risk everything, to turn against structures that gave power, to expose networks that provided belonging, to sacrifice security for truth. In some ways it's harder for them than it was for you. You had nothing to lose, you were already outside, but everything is being given up now. Yet the call is being answered. Because the unseeing of what got seen can't happen. The unknowing of what got known can't happen. The participation in systems that destroy innocent people to protect the guilty can't continue. And your survival, your persistence, your refusal to break, showed that standing alone is possible, that courage is contagious, that one person holding truth can change everything. Calculation is happening now. Evidence is being gathered. Questions are being asked about whether enough exists to overcome reasonable doubt. Figuring out is happening about who can be trusted, how family can be protected, what organization might be clean enough to approach. The thinking about going dark temporarily exists, strategic retreat, creating space to gather final pieces without being watched. Because the knowing exists that once speaking happens, the next target gets created. But the getting ready is happening anyway. The standing at the precipice is happening. The looking at the realm between silence and testimony exists, between complicity and courage is being chosen, because you showed it's possible. Everything is converging now. The betrayer is breaking under the weight of karma. Body pain manifests, anxiety dominates, depression settles, soul debt is manifesting in flesh. Your rising is visible. Your surviving is undeniable. You're becoming exactly what fear predicted is happening. Powerful, free, unstoppable. And the trap exists between you and the corrupt official. No way out exists. No way forward exists. Only the slow collapse of someone who sold their soul for control and got nothing but chains. The corrupt official is watching the shadow system show cracks. Badges feel like burdens. Rank feels like a shell. Authority feels hollow. Every trap set for you caught them instead. Every scheme to control you stripped away illusions. Addiction exists now. Addiction to trying to reach you. Addiction to attempting to break what won't break. And losing is happening. Slowly, inevitably. Because false power can't sustain itself in the presence of authentic frequency. The energy vampire is starving. Your rise is their famine. Your clarity is their confusion. Your power is their weakness. And reaction is happening. Emergencies are being created. Drama is being manufactured. Every manipulation tactic known is being pulled. But the working isn't happening anymore. Because you're not responsible for their hunger. You never were. And the Watcher. The piecing together is happening of how all three of these energies work together to put you in that file. How the betrayer fed you to the official. How the official weaponized the system. How the vampire benefited from keeping you trapped. How it all connects into one corrupt ecosystem designed to keep powerful people like you in permanent limbo. The Watcher has been studying how these shadow files actually operate. Something crucial got noticed about your specific file. It's thicker than most, more detailed, more coordinated, which tells the story that this wasn't casual sabotage, this was systematic destruction. Complete isolation from normal society was the goal. Neutralization was necessary, but nothing legitimate existed to charge you with, so a phantom case got built. Reports that reference incidents without details, accusations without specifics, warnings that trigger flags across systems but never explain what you supposedly did. It's genius in its cruelty, because anyone who looks at your file sees smoke and assumes fire. Restrictions get seen and guilt gets assumed. Flags get seen and danger gets assumed. But the training exists to look deeper, and the noticing is happening of what's missing. No arrest records exist. No legal representation happened. No opportunity to defend yourself was given. Just a cascade of red flags that follow you everywhere without ever giving you the chance to clear your name. And the realization is happening that this is intentional design. This is how blackballing happens in the modern age. Public destruction doesn't happen. Invisible destruction happens. What makes your file particularly striking to the Watcher is the desperation visible in its construction. The speed at which entries accumulated tells a story of panic. Someone was racing against time. Someone was watching you gain momentum and frantically building barriers before you could break through completely. The pattern shows urgency. The pattern shows fear. The pattern shows someone who understood that once you reached a certain threshold of freedom, stopping you would become impossible. Your file also reveals something else. the inconsistencies, the contradictions, the places where the narrative doesn't quite align with itself. Because lies always have gaps, fabrication always leaves traces, and the watcher is trained to spot exactly these kinds of discrepancies. The dates that don't match up with other documentation, the locations that couldn't have been possible, the claims that contradict known facts about your actual whereabouts and activities. This is what gives the watcher confidence. This is what makes speaking feel not just necessary, but achievable. Because your file doesn't just show corruption, it shows sloppy corruption, arrogant corruption, the kind of corruption that happened when people felt so untouchable they didn't bother covering their tracks properly. And that sloppiness is going to be their downfall. The documenting has started of the ripple effects, how a flag in one system triggers automatic responses in others, how your file connects to databases that have nothing to do with law enforcement, how private companies have access to information possession shouldn't exist, how your life has been restricted in ways that bypass every constitutional protection meant to prevent exactly this kind of abuse. The officials who created this system think untouchability exists because operation happens in jurisdictions that don't talk to each other. Local databases, state systems, private networks. The corruption got built in the gaps between oversight, but the connecting of those gaps is happening now. A map is being built of how information flows between systems that aren't supposed to be connected, and that map leads back to specific individuals making specific decisions to keep you trapped. The reviewing has happened of the timeline of when things started falling apart for you. The noticing exists that the flags in your file began appearing during a specific period, a convergence point, a time when you were making changes in your life, meeting new people perhaps, starting new projects, finally choosing yourself after a toxic situation. And that's when panic happened. That's when your betrayer realized control was being lost. That's when the reaching out to the connection happened. That's when the first report got filed. The seeing exists in the documentation, a sudden spike of activity, multiple reports filed in rapid succession, like case building was happening in real time, scrambling to create a paper trail that would justify the destruction that was wanted. You kept going, you kept building, you kept growing. Despite invisible walls appearing everywhere you turned, ways forward got found. Despite opportunities mysteriously disappearing, new ones got created. Despite people suddenly treating you differently for reasons explanation couldn't happen, your integrity got maintained. The watcher sees your resilience documented in the negative space of your file. Every attempt to stop you that you somehow navigated around, every trap that didn't quite catch you, every scheme that didn't quite work. And that's why silence can't continue anymore. Because evidence exists of someone who should have been completely crushed by this system, but somehow remained standing. Someone who should have given up but kept fighting. Someone who should have broken but stayed whole. Now let me put you onto something real. Destiny Engine. I built this because I was done watching chosen ones get dragged through betrayal, isolation and attacks while their enemies strutted around unchecked. I want to help you accelerate the speed of your divine justice and step fully into your purpose. And the beauty of it, you don't even have to lift a finger. Destiny Engine takes their downfall and flips it into your rise. This isn't another meditation app. It's declassified consciousness technology, the same mind programming tools your enemies once used to install fear, competition and scarcity, re-engineered to restore your sovereignty and align you with the cooperative, upgraded operating framework. It generates personalized sequences mapped to your divine purpose. The hardest thing you'll do is put on headphones, press play, and watch your enemies keep digging their own grave. The collective upgrade is underway. Start your Destiny Engine for $1 today and turn everything they did to break you into fuel for your rise. Link in the description. This person is about to speak. The presenting of evidence is about to happen. The blowing open of this shadow system is approaching. Not tomorrow, not next week. Soon, very soon. The tiredness of being afraid exists. The tiredness of watching innocent lives destroyed exists. The tiredness of being complicit in corruption that finally gets understood exists. And when speaking happens, everything shifts, not magically, not instantly, but momentum changes. Doors open that were locked, opportunities appear that were blocked. Belief comes from people who doubted, response comes from systems that ignored, invisible walls start coming down. The exposure won't be a single moment, it'll be a cascade. First comes the initial revelation, then comes the response from authorities who can no longer ignore what's been placed in front of them. Then comes the investigation that has to happen, because now eyes are watching. Then comes the media coverage that amplifies the story beyond the ability to contain it. Then comes the public pressure that forces action. And throughout all of this, you'll be watching a transformation happen, not just in your own life, but in the entire ecosystem that tried to crush you. The corrupt official who felt untouchable will suddenly feel very touchable. The systems that operated in shadows will suddenly face uncomfortable light. The people who benefited from your suppression will suddenly find that benefit evaporating. Your vindication won't come from revenge, it'll come from revelation, the truth doing what truth always does when it finally gets space to breathe, spreading, growing, becoming undeniable, and you won't have to fight for it, you won't have to prove it, you won't have to convince anyone, because the evidence will speak louder than any defense you could mount. This is what you've been building toward without even knowing it. Every day you survived was another day the corrupt system had to maintain its lies. Every day you kept going was another day inconsistencies accumulated in your file. Every day you refused to break was another day the gap widened between who you actually are and who your file claims you are. And now that gap is so wide, so obvious, so undeniable, that even people invested in believing the lies can't maintain the illusion anymore. But here's what's crucial. This isn't about rescue. This isn't about waiting for someone to save you. This is about amplification. The watcher is opening doors, but you're the one walking through them. The creating of opportunities is happening, but you're the one seizing them. The shifting of the narrative is happening, but you're the one claiming your place in it. Because you're not a victim. You never were. You're a catalyst, a disruptor, a frequency holder, and you've been doing the real work this entire time, surviving, holding your light, refusing to break, showing others that standing alone is possible, that courage is contagious, that one person in their truth is more powerful than 1,000 people living lies. When this breaks open, people are going to react. Your betrayer might try to apologize, the corrupt official might try to explain, the energy vampire might try to guilt you, others who doubted you might want back in. People who watched you suffer might suddenly want to act like belief always existed, and choices will need to be made by you. Who gets forgiveness? Who stays at distance? Who gets released entirely? Not from weakness, not from bitterness, but from clarity, from self-respect, from the deep knowing that settling doesn't happen anymore. Crumbs from people who fed you to wolves don't get accepted. Space doesn't get made for people who proved sacrifice will happen when things get uncomfortable. This is going to be one of the hardest parts, not the vindication itself, the aftermath, when people want back in, when explanations come, when apologies arrive. Pressure will be felt, pressure to be understanding, pressure to be compassionate, pressure to give chances because claims of love exist, because suffering is happening now, because consequences are being faced, things are being replaced with better things, people who betrayed you are being replaced with people who protect you, situations that drained you are being replaced with situations that fuel you, systems that rejected you are being replaced with opportunities that celebrate you. Settling doesn't have to happen, acceptance of less than you deserve doesn't have to happen, space doesn't have to be made for anyone who proved selling out will happen. Because your season of exile is ending, your time of vindication is here, and the future being built for you requires having the self-respect to walk away from what no longer serves you. When this breaks open, your life will shift in ways prediction can't fully capture yet. Some changes will be immediate. Certain restrictions might lift. Certain flags might get reviewed. Certain systems might suddenly treat you differently, now that scrutiny exists. Feeling it will happen first in small ways, things that were impossible becoming possible, doors that were locked suddenly opening, people who were cold suddenly responsive. But the deeper changes will take time, rebuilding what was destroyed, reclaiming opportunities that were stolen, reconnecting with parts of yourself that went dormant during survival mode. Operating in restriction has happened for so long that freedom might actually feel disorienting at first. Fighting invisible walls has happened for so long that open space might feel unfamiliar. Proving yourself constantly has happened so acceptance without effort might feel suspicious. Give yourself time to adjust. This isn't weakness, this is recalibration. Transitioning is happening from survival mode to thriving mode, from defense to offense, from reactive to creative, and that transition takes adjustment. Your nervous system needs to learn that safety exists now. Your mind needs to accept that the threats are diminishing. Your spirit needs to remember what it feels like to expand without immediately hitting resistance. Let's be clear about something. You did this, not the Watcher, not the helpers, not the second wave. You. By surviving, by holding your frequency, by refusing to dim your light, by staying in your truth when lies would have been easier, by choosing authenticity when conformity would have been safer. You created the pathway. You held the door open. You showed others that breaking isn't inevitable. Your survival activated helpers. Your persistence positioned allies. Your frequency called the second wave forward. Every person with corrupt intent who got close to you started falling apart. Every trap set got caught in instead. Every scheme to control you cost them pieces of themselves. That's not passive, that's power. Real power. The kind that doesn't need to announce itself or prove itself or defend itself. The kind that operates automatically just by you existing in alignment with who you really are. You're not broken. You're refined. You're not damaged. You're forged. You're not a victim. You're a weapon. Everything that tried to destroy you actually just removed what was never meant to stay. The people who left were never your people. The opportunities that closed were never your opportunities. The systems that rejected you were never your systems. Your betrayer is going to watch this exposure with absolute horror. The realization is going to hit that the worst fear is manifesting. Everything done to you is about to become public knowledge. The connection to the corrupt official is about to be exposed. The role in your destruction is about to be undeniable, and hiding can't happen anymore. Pretending it didn't happen can't continue. Minimizing involvement isn't possible. Reaching out will probably be attempted. Explaining or apologizing or somehow getting ahead of the narrative will probably be wanted. Understanding of perspective will be desired. Seeing that hurt existed too will be wanted. Acknowledgement that love existed despite what got done will be sought. And deciding if hearing it even gets wanted will fall to you. Because pain doesn't erase pain. Regret doesn't undo destruction. Love doesn't excuse betrayal. The corrupt official is going to scramble. Luring up is going to happen. Track covering is going to start. Reaching out to everyone in the network to coordinate stories and prepare defenses is going to happen. Positioning as following procedure or acting on information believed to be legitimate is going to be attempted. Claims will be made about just doing a job, that no way existed to know the reports were false, that victimhood exists too, of whoever fed bad information. But the evidence won't support the claims. The Watcher's documentation will show knowing happened, choosing happened, acting with intent happened, coordinating happened, maintaining this system deliberately happened, and explaining that away can't happen. Deflection and denial can happen all they want, but the truth is going to be louder than lies. The energy vampire is going to feel your shift before anyone else. The sensing is going to happen that the food source is disappearing, that availability for drama no longer exists, that tolerance of manipulation no longer exists, and escalation is going to happen. Bigger emergencies are going to be created. More intense drama is going to be manufactured. Every tactic known is going to be pulled to drag you back into orbit. But seeing through it is going to happen now. Pattern recognition is going to happen. Understanding is going to exist. That crisis isn't your responsibility. That pain isn't yours to fix. That emptiness isn't yours to fill. And boundaries are going to be set that actually hold, not from anger, not from bitterness, but from clarity, from self-respect, from the deep knowing that you're done sacrificing yourself for people who only take. The second wave has arrived. The shadows are unraveling. Justice is manifesting. And you're not at the beginning of your journey anymore. You're at the threshold of your vindication, standing exactly where you're meant to be, watching everything converge, watching consequences catch up, watching truth rise, watching helpers appear, watching systems crack, watching the corrupt scramble, watching your life shift from restriction to expansion. This is your moment, not to be rescued, but to be amplified, not to be saved, but to be celebrated, not to be fixed, but to be recognized for the power you've always been, the weapon you've always been, the catalyst you've always been, the frequency disruptor who changes everything just by refusing to conform to corruption. Your people are coming, not the ones who left, not the ones who doubted, not the ones who watched you suffer and did nothing. New people, people who match your frequency, people who honor your truth, people who celebrate your power, people who protect what you've built instead of trying to control it, people who add to your life instead of draining from it. Your opportunities are opening, not the ones that closed, not the ones that were stolen, not the ones that rejected you. New opportunities, better opportunities, opportunities that actually align with who you've become through this process, opportunities that honor your gifts, opportunities that value your perspective, opportunities that recognize what you bring instead of trying to minimize it. Your systems are being built, not the corrupt systems that tried to destroy you. New systems, systems created by the second wave, systems that have integrity, systems that operate with transparency, systems that protect people like you instead of targeting them, systems that can't be weaponized because building on truth happened instead of lies. So make a decision right now. Decide you're done waiting for permission that was never required. Decide you're done playing small to comfort people who need you diminished. Decide you're done accepting less than you deserve from people who proved sacrifice of you will happen for their own comfort, because the watcher is about to speak. The silence is about to shatter. The truth is about to flood systems that have been operating in darkness. And you, chosen one, you're about to step into the future that your survival created, your persistence protected, your frequency built. This isn't the beginning of your journey. This is the beginning of your reign, not a reign of control or domination, a reign of authentic power, of clear boundaries, of unshakable self-respect, of frequency that transforms everything it touches. The corrupt systems are crumbling, the helpers are here, the validation is coming, and you're exactly where you're supposed to be, not broken, not damaged, not waiting to be fixed. Powerful, clear, unbreakable, refined by fire, forged by pressure, strengthened by everything that tried to destroy you. Get ready, everything is about to change, not for you to become someone new, but for the world to finally see who you've always been, for the systems to finally acknowledge what tried to be hidden, for the corrupt to finally face what escape was thought to exist from, for justice to finally arrive in a form that dismissal can't happen to, denial can't happen to, delay can't happen to any longer. The watcher is gathering courage, the evidence is compiled, the moment is approaching, and when that silence breaks, when that truth floods out, when that exposure begins, feeling it will happen, knowing will happen, recognition will happen, of this as the beginning of the end of your exile and the beginning of your elevation. This is what waiting has been for. This is what surviving has been for. This is what your frequency has been calling forward all along.